very much resembling a throne world.
Yeah, there's been some educated guesses in that
De toute façon, on le sait tous qu'Iris, elle est dans son monde de trône, elle est pas morte. Hein.
Vase, if you're out there, maybe you can help us out and kind of tell us a little bit more about what's to come. Excellent. So that sets the stage, but we're also going to go ahead and dive into an activity here. We've got some gameplay ready to show on screen. Quentin, we've got a new activity that we're going to go ahead.
Une nouvelle activité?
Can you tell us a little bit about what the Court of Blades is?
Sure. Yeah, Court of Blades. When we were talking about bringing back the Dreadnought,
la cour des épées.
we're going to pay some sort of homage to.
Pour l'instant, on est toujours dans le cuirassé. En fait, c'est une nouvelle activité dans l'activité, quoi. C'est ce que j'avais dit, c'est ce que j'avais call, quoi. Mais on va pas visiter d'autres endroits?
And adding to that, a lot of the activities recently have been sort of longer form, maybe a little stressful.
En fait, on a un nouveau événement public dans l'activité, quoi.
Activity that folks can just come and slay out for 10 minutes and have fun.
Exciting. So, as we go ahead and check out the Court of Blades, there's a lot of new augments available to players too. Actually, if we can really quickly look, there's some hive statues around. Can you tell us about the augments that players are going to have available to them as they go ahead and try and build their loadout for this activity?
Sure. Yeah. What we wanted to do was to take some inspiration from the sort of roguelike things that we've been exploring over the last couple of years with Destiny, making sure that each run feels unique and challenging in its own way. And so what we've borrowed the concept of augmentations from Onslaught, so players will see those, and they're a little different in this case, where they provide challenges that players may be able to overcome in other ways. So they're simple mechanically. A single player could go and complete the augmentation, but you might be able to just DPS the boss, pop your super, that sort of a thing, as a way to overcome that challenge. In addition, we've got sort of a randomized set of armaments that players will be able to purchase between phases that will allow them to combat those challenges a little bit.
All right, let's say we unleash our fire team here as we
Vas-y, fais voir du gameplay là.
Explore what this has to offer rather. But in addition to the augments, there's also going to be some
voilà.
kids are going to be going up against as well. You know, it's not all going to be just fun games and building your powerful loadout. Like these folks are here to go ahead and resist you at every turn. What's it going to be like building, you know, your loadouts as you go into this? Are you going to be able to?
J'avais pas vu, mais il joue avec l'arc qui sortira du coup avec l'acte 2 sûrement. Ils l'ont dépop le boss.
Get applied start to stack the more that you play the activity, and so you might get a really good combination that's very easy.
On a d'autres boss qui ont pop.
Sometimes you're going to get a really bad combination of a certain boss or a certain.
En fait, ça va enchaîner là.
That don't work well together. But we wanted players to have some opportunities to,
il y a un décompte de 10 minutes.
Maybe shortcut those, or maybe
augmentation, sharpen, protection 100%.
The armaments that they can purchase and find a really cool combo. And so the armaments will actually rotate on a daily basis with the hope that there'll be sort of a meta that generates each day and then refreshes.
So as we had our fire team,
changement de zone.
It was like, ooh,
I know.
what we got?
I had the same reaction.
Okay, ils sont revenus en arrière.
So these arenas are going to take place obviously across the system. Nico, can you tell us about the eagle-eyed folks in chat? Obviously, are kind of calling out where they believe that was. Can you go ahead and confirm to us where that arena was?
So the title of that area that you saw was Remnant of Silver, and that is on IO. It is in the cradle area where the Tree of Silver Wings was. And as players know, we have seen Mars come back, we've seen Titan come back, we've heard of Mercury, even though we haven't gone back and revisited it yet. Io is really the only one that we haven't really talked about at all. And that's because Io is still trapped between worlds, and right now it is in the Ascendant Plane, fully enveloped by it. And Oryx, through the Echo of or as the Echo of Navigation, I should say, is kind of reaching out to these places of paracausal power, reaching out to Io for this place of darkness, Hive worship, as you see here. The Hive have like massive connections to the darkness, obviously. And then one of the arenas that you have,
on enchaîne juste des boss,
which is the first place that we encountered stasis through clarity control, and it is a huge font of darkness.
Par contre, ça a l'air d'être des chips les boss là.
Why Oryx would connect with those places certainly, but no, it's really exciting to get to go back to Io. I think obviously Chad had the same reaction that I had when it was like it showed up on screen for the
Wait a
first
minute,
time.
I've been there.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's been a while, hasn't it? Yeah.
So when we're going through these arenas, like you were talking about the challenges and the difficulty, with the Court of Blades, are we going to see similar mechanics to Nether, like the health scaling or things like that, or how's it different?
We will not be seeing the health scaling and health mechanics from the Nether, so that's a bit of a load off people's minds. This is intended to be a bit more of a less stressful, more fun activity, but the difficulty does escalate after every 2 challengers.
Ok.
And so what we want to do, we've created these sort of light mechanics. You know, what you're not going to see is true raid level experience. This is not a replacement for Pantheon, that sort of a thing. We want it to be match made. We want it to be go in and have fun. The mechanics that you can buy as armaments sometimes will provide antidotes or shortcuts to the
Bah, il joue aussi avec le glaive là.
the mechanics that you're seeing.
Le glaive de
as
saison.
augmentations. Some of them you may recognize from the Nether. Some of them are going to be brand new.
Donc des armes que je
A
risque
few
pas
of them are
d'utiliser,
actually going to be,
c'est terrible.
things that we've taken from
Le glaive et l'arc un peu osef quoi.
such as
Taken, as we see on the screen.
Sure.
Sorry. Go
How
ahead.
dare you?
Such as we've taken the effect from Sunbracers off, and that is a thing that you can actually purchase within this this activity using the currency, and maybe combine that with something that increases ability.
Ouais, donc là ils ont fini le
Or maybe
niveau.
you see a couple of arc flavored armaments, and you decide on this run I'm going to use those.
Yeah.
So it's about mixing and matching and finding what works on a
Yeah, a
particular
lot of chances to
run.
really exemplify your build. So also there's, in addition to kind of the standard run through that we're seeing right here, is there a higher difficulty mode available as well?
Sure, yeah. For people
Ah
who
ouais,
like
il y a
a
le
little
mode
bit more of a
expert.
challenge, we're going to have an expert version of the
Ouais, bah c'était
activity.
sûr ça.
Both will actually be a really good place to find the active
Mais du coup, c'est l'activité que vous lancez à part. C'est pas genre vous allez dans le cuirassé et vous pouvez tomber dessus au pif. Non, c'est vraiment une activité que vous pouvez lancer depuis l'orbite. Moi au début, je pensais qu'on allait juste devoir lancer le cuirassé en mode patrouille et on pouvait tomber dessus, mais pas du tout quoi.
To that end as well, Nico, we're going up against, you were mentioning at the end of Act 1, Zivu and Savathun were none too happy with Oryx's answer and demeanor towards us. Who are we going up against as we go ahead and fly through this activity?
Yeah, so a little bit of a refresher, final finale, we walked in, we saw the Echo of Navigation, and this is where Oryx learns that we killed him in the Taken King.
Yeah.
And his response is, "You killed me? Very cool."
Yeah.
I'm super into that.
That was refreshing. I was like, whew, finally one less hive god to be mad at me,
Yes,
right?
exactly. So what Oryx is kind of doing here is he wants you to be his guy. You know, he wants you to take up that mantle of Taken King, and he's testing you. This is him testing his knife, right? Making sure it's as sharp as it's supposed to be. And while he is doing that to prove that you are the Taken King, Zivu is here saying, no, I want my brother back.
Yeah.
Let me give you another champion. She's presenting her own hive champions, trying to say, let this be a vessel for you.
Yeah.
Much like we saw in Pit of Heresy, it's a similar idea.
Xiwara, c'est la
And then
drôle de démon, ouais.
on the other end of the spectrum there is saying, this is stupid. We should all just move on from this chain to the sword logic that we have.
Yeah.
Stop being shackled to these old
Le
ideas.
linéaire du
We can all
donjon,
be
en vrai,
free.
pour des dégâts passifs, même pour de démo boss, c'est pas si mal en vrai. En fait, c'est plus un linéaire que vous allez prendre pour de démo boss que pour faire du DPS.
Through Nether and through the activities back one, I'm assuming we'll see more.
Ah ouais, vous mettez votre tourelle elle reste là pendant 25 secondes, elle vous aide à démober.
Yeah, wanted to give a shout out to the voice actor.
Yeah, so the voice actor for Oryx is Joshua David King. They did a fantastic job every single time we were in the recording booth. All the narrative designers, our voice director, everybody was just losing their mind over the performance. It was fantastic. And I mean, you get to see it in the game. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's always wonderful seeing like Morla coming in, bringing Eris to life, and then in this case, Oryx is alive.
Yeah.
And this is the first time that we're having kind of a relationship with the Taken King.
Yeah,
So,
and it was a big deal for us because we
Ça
wanted
veut
to
dire
make
notre
sure
pote,
that
le roi
we
de
did that character
Oryx.
justice. and they didn't really have Oryx as a character didn't really have a suite of voice acting before, so we wanted to make sure that it felt true to what Oryx was back in the Taken King.
Les boss, ouais, c'est des chips, hein. En tout cas, pour l'instant, c'est des chips. Hein.
Exactly. And now it's like, yo, sword logic, you killed me, you're cool.
I'm more verbose.
Oryx has been really reading the thesaurus recently and making sure that he's got his vocabulary all up to snuff. Actually, as well, really quickly, Quentin, I'd love to go ahead and check with you as well. There's new. I think we were talking about the shaping slab earlier as well before the show. What sort of additional enhancements are available there?
Sure. Yeah. As people have seen in Act 1, there's a set of upgrades that they can purchase and slot in based on how far they have ranked the vendor that are specific to the Nether and the requirements of that, providing a free revive token, things like that.
Il parle des runes, là, les runes rituelles.
Specifically for it, as well as some permanent upgrades to help players deal with the heavy and increasing challenge as they get deeper and deeper and try and up that score of how many challengers they can take down in a single run.
Chances for our creators to make some guys. Maybe Abontis can help us out this time around. We probably got something in store there. But we now actually would love to take a moment to introduce another new face to our couch for the very first time to help kind of talk us through some of the weapons that are going to be available to you as we go ahead and kick off Act 2 of Heresy. We are now joined by the one and only associate designer here at
On l'a jamais vu, elle.
associate designer here at Bungie. Morgan, how's it going today?
It's going well, thank you.
Absolutely. So for anyone that doesn't get the chance to work with you at Bungie or is unfamiliar with your work, can you tell us just a little bit about who you are and what you do here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Morgan. I'm a weapons designer here at Bungie. I work on the origin traits and perks and just the general gameplay for the weapons. I did the Act 3 weapons and the Telesto update, if that tells you anything about me.
That's true. So obviously we have Morgan to
Ils
blame
payent pas le chauffage chez Bungie, ils sont tous en manteau. C'est clair.
There were some whispers of Telesto's broken on day one. I was like, what do you mean broken?
Non, il y a l'autre, il a un t-shirt,
you
ça va.
mean like good broken.
You're right, yeah.
So, good job. Community loves it. Thanks, chat, for shouting out.
Yeah, as we all collectively wiped our brow and we're like, okay, cool.
Telesto's broken and
Morgan hands us another win.
Merde. Ah les gars, j'ai pas payé l'abonnement internet, je suis désolé. Pourquoi ça coupe là? Pourquoi ça coupe? C'est pas le moment de couper là. Pourquoi ça coupe?
Been humbled by Glaives more often than I care to admit in the Crucible recently.
C'est bon,
what
c'est
are
bon.
some roles we should be looking forward to with this one?
Ok, donc on a un petit aperçu en détail du glaive, fais voir. Il est plus joli dans les mains.
Good ammo efficiency and really high damage potential. And if you're looking for a fun Crucible roll, tilting at windmills and melee momentum is really fun.
Okay, that's what I'm going to
That's a good name for a perk. Tilting at windmills in Crucible.
Yeah.
Tilting your opponents.
Why do you stare right at me when you say that?
I don't know. But I do want to make another call out. So in Act 1 we were talking about, when you're going to the Dreadnought, it's peeling back, the skin is coming off. When we were just looking at this glaive, they all follow that same theme. So right now you have a big sword on a big stick that's covered in teeth. Like, I cannot, this is my number one thing when Act 2 goes live to go and grind for me. So.
Yeah.
Allez, il va farmer le glaive.
And I couldn't help but notice, obviously, there's a very, very scary looking new Void Bow as well that our Guardian here has been using.
Allez, l'arc
Can you tell
maintenant.
us a little bit about this bad boy?
Arc abyssal.
Absolutely. So Anamnesis is a void
Bon, il a le
bow.
combo du seigneur,
This
hein,
one's really
renfort
cool because
impulsif,
the
munition
origin trait
déstabilisante.
grants charge speed.
Avec l'artefact, bon bah il va marcher du tonnerre.
Getting final blows will slowly just lower that charge time. If you're a bow lover and you have always wanted to take something other than Archer's Tempo in the left column, now's your chance.
Yeah, fair. I have my vault is littered with Archer's Tempo in that first column, so no, I'm really looking forward to that one. What are some roles? I think we've got some repulsor brace action going on, but what are some roles we can look forward to here?
Yeah, you can pair repulsor brace with either destabilizing rounds or
Ouais,
demoralize.
bon le classico quoi.
And if you want to take advantage of that origin trait reducing charge time, you can throw a successful warm-up and impulse amplifier on it and have one of the fastest firing bows in the game.
Yeah, honestly, even having just gotten that roll on Exalted Truth, like the other
Non, le monarque, ce qui est fort, c'est son poison en fait.
The timing is impeccable too. Like last week on I think
Le poison du monarque, ça carry pour la charge éclair.
But folks are going into the Nightfall with Monarch.
Yeah.
Monarch. And I'm like, oh, here's
Et
a
en
new
plus, il
void
fait les
that goes
surcharger.
with the artifact that has all these cool perks. Maybe you'll have a new thing to use in Nightfalls when the sidearm comes around next week. Chat, yes, the sidearm is next week. Don't worry. But yeah.
It's awesome. And so, in addition to those, so
Attends,
obviously,
je crois il me l'a dit là. Je crois c'est le pistolet c'est le pistolet semaine
Yeah,
pro.
so there's a sidearm, a submachine gun, and a fusion rifle.
Exciting.
The sidearm is one of our first heavy burst sidearms in a bit, and it's got bolt shot on it, which, given how quick sidearms reload, is pretty fun.
Yeah.
And you can also get sword logic on it as well. It's always a fun option.
Yeah, seriously,
So
I
when
can't
you
wait.
say heavy burst sidearm, is that a 2-shot?
2-shot.
Got it.
Yeah. It's gonna be
Encore une
powerful.
activité
Yeah,
où
I
on
can
fait tout le temps la même
already hear it
chose.
I'm sure in my trials
Wow,
matches,
tu veux faire quoi pour tuer des ennemis?
we
Tu vas
also
faire des
have- this is a
tacos?
new fusion rifle. Oh, here actually we got the sidearm up on screen. Let's hang out here for a second. And just
Alors, on a le pistolet aussi.
that art style is just so good.
Oh, il a volt
Yeah,
shot
the design is
et
really cool, and,
courant de focus, c'est ça?
The glow actually gets a little bit brighter.
Ah,
as you stack up the
là,
origin
ça,
trait.
c'est-
It's fun.
Oh, that's cool.
Super cool,
Et
actually. In addition to that, I know we were talking a little bit before the show as well. There's a new fusion rifle in store that sounds pretty terrifying if you're going up against us. Can you tell us a little bit about what's in front of us?
Putain,
right
mais il
now?
nous montre tout là, mais il n'y a pas les
Afterlight
quatre
is
armes
another
qui vont
weapon that
sortir
really
d'un
benefits
coup
from
là.
that charge rate boost. And it's got a couple of fun options for DPS with that. If you're willing to put in a lot of work, Ambitious Assassin Reservoir Burst with that origin trait will stack up in a couple shots and will do really, really high DPS until you lose Reservoir Burst.
Of course, yeah.
And if you're looking for something simpler, you can always do Lead from Gold and Vorpal Weapon.
True. Yeah.
This version of the weapon is one of the heretical arsenal versions too. So if you're going into the expert difficulty of court,
Alors le pistolet, il est
get some
cryo,
ways
hein.
to drop as you're playing with your friends. It has the 2 perks in each column, and then it has the extra origin trait from King's Fall, narratively tied in. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sandbox team, for the cool stuff.
As
Thank
always.
you, Sandbox team, for the cool stuff. But then also on top of that, you have your Tome of Want. So if you're just looking for rolls, trying to get more of the sidearm, the fusion,
Bah ça se trouve il a
etc.,
retour de secousse aussi, hein.
these will be additions. You go and you get your slabs from the chests or doing the activity, and then you can use it in the court to get more drops, or you can actually go into Nether or go into Crucible or whatever and have a couple.
Après, volt shot, c'est pas si dégueu là sur le sur une arme principale, bah tu prends quoi.
Like, I'm super excited to see how I can work that one in. So the sandbox is always obviously rather going to be enriched by some new legendary weapons.
Et comment va
but,
mamie?
our good friend the Barodaiad is going to have some new additions to their perks as well this time around. For anyone out there like myself who's gone ahead and added that to their loadouts recently, what are some of the updates we can expect there?
Yeah, so Barodaiad is getting 2 new Catalyst perks in Act 2, with 2 more coming later. And some of the fun options there are one for all.
Et par de l'arme exo là,
Many
la
exotics
PM.
have like damage perks on their Catalyst, but this one you can really alter your play style.
Yeah, I feel like target lock is almost made for that one. It's
Ah moi
super
j'ai hâte de
exciting
l'avoir
to take
avec
that one out
visage verrage de cible. là. Il faut que je le teste en PvP là.
Absolutely. Big shout out, Maven. Thank you very much for all your build videos. Can't wait to see some more, obviously, along the way.
And sorry, it'll be 2
yeah.
catalysts go live on Tuesday next
Comment
week
va
on the
Gratine?
11th, and then we have 2 more coming in Act 3.
Par contre encore un glaive, c'est des
Still
forceurs.
more to unlock, but obviously Barodaiad's
Ouais mais
potential
ce
is
glaive
going
il
to continue to
il est
build up.
stylé.
And if you haven't gotten it, that exotic quest, shout out to our activity designers. Like I was blown away. And if you have some
Et
problems
lui il a
with finding
verrage de
insights
cible
and
dessus.
pulling
Lui il a
stuff,
fait le
it's a little
kata.
creepy. So be prepared. But
And actually, okay, we're taking a look at Barodaiad here really quickly. This is one where if the Guardians out there haven't had a chance to get their hands on it, as Dylan mentioned, the exotic quest is live right now, but coming next week, we've got 2 more catalysts that'll be hitting. So looking forward to expand that. And actually, while we're here in menu, we'd be remiss if we didn't take a look at our friendly neighborhood artifact as well. As has been the case with the ACTE,
Ah, l'artefact maintenant. Normalement on a une ligne en plus. Donc on a les rayons qui font les surcharger, je
Yeah,
crois.
absolutely. So
Les
the
rayons
primary
qui
theme for
soignent,
this
c'est quoi
one
ça?
is, trace rifles with a secondary theme of like element matching.
Ils veulent une
So,
méta fusil à
in
rayons là
the
pour cet acte
left
2.
column, You have overload trace rifles as a new anti-champ option.
Ok.
And then we have a new trace rifle.
Rapid
perk,
trace
Beam
rifle
Medic,
final
where
blows
rapid
heal you
trace
on
rifle
nerve.
final blows heal
Ah,
both you
c'est les
and
kills.
nearby allies. This is a fun thing to pair with the new detonator beam perk, which will help you get those multi kills.
Ouais.
Yeah, very looking forward to it.
Bon, des
I'm
mobs
just
avec le
continuing,
rayon
like, I'm
quoi.
already
Bah ouais, t'as celui
imagining
de
how I'm gonna
passe
get
hein,
microcosm
qui tire
back
avec des munitions
honestly
cinétiques.
already, like, I cannot wait.
Des munitions
Good
cinétiques,
news
des
for you.
munitions
Skipping
principales.
ahead to the 4th column perk, harsh refraction.
Trace rifles do more damage to targets affected by elemental debuff matching their element type. Oh, bah celui de saison il va tabasser là.
Oh, I can't wait. Any others that we want to look at before we go along? I know we have a little bit of extra time here.
Yeah, absolutely. So for
Fais voir un peu.
microcosm, if you
Le
want to just
microcosme.
really double down on that,
And I do.
limit break is the 5th column perk. And it will give you increased
Casting a
super
super
damage
while
when
you are
either
critically wounded or
and you
have a
cast it,
elemental buff
or we
matching
have
your
an
super
buff that
element
matches,
grant a period
your
increase or
super
super
type.
damage.
And actually, while we're here, we may as well just take a look. What awaits us in the 3rd column as well?
So the 3rd column is a new
Des kills rapides avec une arme cinétique ou une arme matchant votre super. Créer un élément.
Rapid final blows with a kinetic weapon or
That
a
match
weapon
your-
that matches your equipped super
Okay.
will, grant you one of those.
Perfect.
And it can be boosted by the Tome of Blunt.
Very exciting. All right, so our trace rifles are really going to go ahead and get a lot of additional mileage here, it looks like, honestly.
I got to give a shout out to our icon artist too. So like Prometheus lens is my favorite trace. Like
Ouais,
laser
bah
tag
il faut
weekend, some
enlever des
people
modes de
just
l'acte 1 si vous voulez
immediately
mettre des modes de
they're
l'acte
like,
2 en plus, ouais.
That was a really fun
I was going to say,
time,
you were not
definitely.
one of those. Yeah.
Oh, I was so excited. We had Urk at the time reached out and asked, "Can we put Prometheus lens on Zur?" And I was like, "Why would you do
Par
that?"
contre là, le build cryo là, de l'arcaniste là, avec le rayon du pass là, et à moins de faire un truc sympa par contre là, avec ces modes d'artefacts. Hein.
Running through court, running through Nether, I'm gonna be like, let's burn some stuff.
That's all right. I'll have your back. I'll have the microcosm. You take Prometheus lens. It's going to be a terrible day to be hyper taken for a
Sure.
little while.
Hit me up on Discord and then I'll ignore you for another week.
Le dernier mode, ça booste pas le rayon, ça booste le super. Hein.
Okay, it's right in front of all of our guardians. Okay, so while we're also checking out the artifact, we've got, we teased at the top of the show, we're going to do some Act 3 teases as well. Can you give us a tease a little, or what the theme rather of what that last row is going to be?
Yeah, so the primary theme is rockets. We have a new perk that will help you clear rockets without needing to reload or spend ammo. And then
Une nouvelle perk
there's a
pour les
secondary theme
roquettes.
of strand with a new way to access woven mail.
Okay, very exciting. I cannot wait to go ahead and just
Et une
dust
autre
up my
perk là
rocket
pour la main
launchers. Yeah, so
tissée.
my
J'ai pas
Apex
trop
Predator
compris, j'ai pas trop
sitting
suivi
around, and
là.
that one's been waiting for its time to shine, so I think this is that moment.
Yeah. And then outside of the artifact, there are going to be new things to play, right?
Yeah, we're going to have refreshes to the Nether and Court in terms of new bosses, new combatants. If you're familiar with the pressure events from Act 1, the blights that you have to destroy, there's new and devious.
Ouais, il y a une nouvelle perk là pour les roquettes là.
And then in Act 3,
Ou genre quand tu fais du démobage avec, ça te redonne des munes, t'as pas besoin de recharger, c'est un délire comme ça.
Right, yes. Any Guardians who remember their fond Destiny 1 days of having that like huge batch of thralls running at you up the bridge, now's the chance to
Ouais,
check that
après,
out.
est-ce que
But
tu démobes
actually,
avec un
we were
roquette?
talking before the
Je sais
show,
pas.
Probably not going to be Alacool.
Yeah, Nico was mentioning, so Alacool was down in the deep, dark dungeon hole and then became a light hive, the guardian hive. What do we
Light
call
bears?
it? Yeah, well, it was
He's
light
the
bear, and then it was
light
like
The Lucent Hive.
Alacool is what you called it, and I
Like,
cringed.
Cool.
Yeah,
It's
But,
creativity's a process everywhere.
So with the light blade ascending, being in the throne world, doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Who is in the sun?
Pourquoi il parle de la lame lumière?
That's something we'll find out in Act 3 in April.
Yeah, very exciting. We'll have a chance to check that out. And actually, Dylan, while I've got you, I'd love to put you on the spot. In addition to obviously all this stuff that'll be arriving with Act 2, Guardian Games is going to be making its triumphant return as
Le
well.
jeu des gardiens.
So let me get my handy dandy notebook here.
Ah, il est comme moi lui avec ses notes. Moi aussi pareil. Moi à chaque fois pareil.
He's a reporter out on the beat.
Yeah, so Guardian Games starts next week.
Yeah.
Le jeu des gardiens qui commence la semaine prochaine, il y en a un aperçu des skins les gars. Oh, le titan, on va voir. Avec le délire lion. Le chasseur, ouais. L'arca, je suis pas fan.
We'll have a ton more detail in the tweet on Thursday, so tune in for that. But I just have a couple teases of, we have a...
Please.
You put it best, bite-sized boss.
L'arme de cette année, ce sera un rayon.
It's not going to be like a court, it's not going to be like a pantheon, but now we have a challenge of, hey, go in, burn down some bosses, get as many points as you can, and then you can get some new rewards.
Yeah.
So when it comes to rewards, we have some really cool armor. This is going to be Eververse. You can earn it for free through Bright Dust, so go in and do
Ok, donc vous pouvez la récupérer avec de la poussière brillante.
Pathfinders, there are going to be
Classique.
some weekly bounties that get Bright Dust. And you can see that we're going with more of a gladiator theme, where previous it was like, let's go into sports, let's go into these things. Now it's like, hey,
L'arcade, j'aime pas du tout.
You're going to destroy these bosses, and it's going to be a really good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for that hunter cloak for sure. Seriously. And then all players are going to be getting a specific class item to engage with the event as well.
That's right.
So,
okay, yeah.
The hunter is holding our new premier legendary weapon that's going to be coming out.
Right.
Ouais.
And now I pass it off to Morgan because there's some really cool perk rolls that you can.
Elle aussi, elle a des notes.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had the arc trace rifle in Iron
Ok,
Banner,
les cryos.
which is more of a
Fusil à
PvP
rayon
focus.
cryo.
This one has more of a PvE focus to go along with the boss slaying theme.
Yep.
It's got some fun perks in the left column, including overflow and triple tap.
Débordement.
And eddy current, if
Yeah.
you just want to double down on the arc perks. And it's got our new detonator beam and jolting feedback alongside rolling storm as well.
Okay, this one's going to be a lot of fun. Oh my gosh.
Does it have a
Encore un rayon cryo, quoi. Par contre, on avait déjà celui de la bannière de
But
fer.
just like you can go in and do almost every single arc verb with this thing, depending on your role. So
On a
the
eu-
harder you do
on a
the
eu 3
activity, the
rayons
more
cryo,
perks
là,
you
cette
can get on
saison.
these things, so double perks in each column. And then we have some returning weapons for Guardian games as well.
Yeah, Hullabaloo is coming back. That is the heavy grenade launcher that shoots the 3 waves. It is getting the new Rolling Storm perk, which is obviously really fun on a weapon that can clear ads so quickly.
Yeah.
And I personally like
Ok,
pairing that
donc
with
il y a aussi
Demolitionist,
les
so you
armes
have
là,
a,
de jeux de gardiens qui ont
easier
eu
access
leur
to
perk
something that lets you
revisité.
discharge, bolt charge as well.
Et là, elle parle du
And then
lance-grenade à ondes, là,
got
le lourd,
ABS
là.
and Cascade Point as well, which is a fun roll from last year.
Very nice. Yeah, my dad's a big
Ah vrai, je l'ai pas mal utilisé quand même, ce lance-grenade lourd, là, avec les ondes, là. Pour démober, c'est quand même
We also
sympa.
have Taraxipos, the Strand
Allez,
Scout Rifle.
le
returning.
Taraxipos.
It's getting the new perks Lone Wolf.
Ok, loup
and
solitaire.
Tear. Lone Wolf explosive rounds is devious in the
Oh,
Crucible.
I was just having so much fun too. How could you do this to me?
Ouais.
No, I'm going to get one of my own. Who am I kidding? Yeah.
And of course, we have the title coming back, and it will still have repulsor brace destabilizing rounds, but it's also getting recycled energy and demoralize, Enter the Pain.
Demoralize is like my favorite perk name from this episode because it's legitimately like, oh, you're all weakened now, baby. Let's go to work. But title is going to be great. I've been trying to get that for the last
Le
couple years.
titre.
It's a good perk.
Oh, moi,
Now
j'aime pas
there's a
cette
bunch of really
PM.
cool stuff to get on it.
Yeah.
So.
So there's obviously a decent amount of stuff to go ahead and be chasing down in game between the new armor, the new trace rifle, and obviously the refreshed rolls. But Dylan, as well, I'd love to put you on the spot. There's going to be stuff out of game available to Guardians as well.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what's available there.
Yeah, every year we have a Bungie rewards component. So big shout out to Natalie, our rewards team. But we have a really cool jersey that we're going to be offering this year.
Ouais, bon, là, il parle des packs.
Do your triumphs, earn your title, and then you can earn this really
Bon, ça, les gars, il faut acheter avec des vrais
jersey.
sous. Bon,
So
personne va
there are
l'acheter.
a couple other things that you can go in and get as well. But this is, I think you and I were talking about, hey, you go to a Sounders game and now you can have a fellow Titan or a Hunter show up and be like, hey, so Warlocks are pretty nerdy, right? So
Why are you here at a Sounders game instead of reading a book?
Yeah, right.
That's my
Ouais, il y a
job.
quelqu'un qui nous a rejoint là.
Here in the studio.
Il y a même deux personnes qui nous ont
rejoint.
rejoint.
Huge
Really
again,
cool.
shout out to Natalie. Getting one of these early, huge win. So huge thanks to our compatriots.
2025 Guardian Games.
Yeah.
Looks really good on the back.
That's so cool.
Thank you for my fashion corner.
You know what? You've got more on the way, but we can also tease that later. But no, really cool to get to see one of those in person as well. All right, so now, as we've obviously had a chance to dive in.
Ah, mais il y en a à la fête. Il y a des gens, ils achètent. Hein. Ouais, ils ont le droit d'acheter, ils font ce qu'ils veulent.
3 teases for you as well. And so we'd like to take an opportunity here to welcome 2 new folks to the couch that we have magically brought in. We'll go ahead and start with the fine individual to my left, who you may have met by way of some of our Bungie Vidocs in the past, or if you work here, she's brandishing a small bottle of teeth. Yes, actually teeth at you during our teams meetings.
Attends, quoi? Qu'est-ce qu'elle fait? Elle s'est ramenée avec des dents.
Nix, how's it going?
Hey, Andy, it's going. You owe me. No,
Qu'est-ce qu'elle fait?
Super
Qu'est-ce qu'elle fait?
surprised that you asked me to be live.
No, of course. Glad you could join us. For anyone that may not have met you by way of our Vidocs and is just meeting you for the first time,
Ouais,
can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is you do here?
T'es qui, la sœur, là-bas?
I'm here at Bungie, and I've produced a number of teams from activity design, free roam, lost sectors, strikes, to world art, palette lighting, skies, VFX, and most recently our sandbox weapons team with Morgan, who was just here, and my production darling, Renee.
That's right, we will. That is a Charlie Brown-ish line.
Je l'aime bien.
We're going to introduce that.
Elle a l'air bon délire.
But of course, we're going to go ahead and make sure and introduce right next to her, Rodney Thompson, a senior design lead here at Bungie. Rodney, how's it going?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you so much. That's so nice. Anyone who may not have had a chance to meet you or doesn't get a chance to work with you here at Bungie, can you tell us just a little bit about who you are and what you do here?
Sure. I've been at Bungie for about 10 years. I'm a designer.
C'est elle qui a nerfé la consécration.
I'm the Sandbox Craft Lead. And additionally, I've been the team lead for the Charlie Brown redacted team that Nick's just mentioned.
Very exciting. We've got some cool stuff to check out. Now, actually, Dylan, you and I were talking a little bit about this. There's going to be a new event arriving with Act 3.
Yeah, this event
Yeah.
is free to all players.
Oh.
It's going to offer something for lower skill, for folks that may want to start getting into some.
Au-delà de la lumière V2 peut-être pour l'acte 3.
Some things of higher difficulty. I don't want to steal too much thunder.
Oh, no, of course.
Yeah,
I mean,
let's tee it up.
Yeah, that allows us
Oh,
to
le petit
introduce
teaser.
it. Rodney, would you like to do the honors of introducing
The Rite of the Nine. Yes.
Rite of the Nine?
So Rite of the Nine is our new event that we've been working on. Really excited about this. It is a limited time event that features our dungeons. 3 of our dungeons that are part of this event. That's going to be Prophecy, of course, because of the 9 associations, but also Spire of the Watcher and Ghost of the Deep. So these 3 dungeons, you know, we've seen a lot of reaction.
Ils vont faire un Panthéon version donjon, attends quoi?
The contest modes for our new dungeons as they've come out. And we were thinking, you know, what would it be like if we were able to go back to our older dungeons and experience that kind of level of challenge and see how things play out in, you know, these older dungeons with some tweaks and some tuning and some additional modifiers and things like that to really like bring the challenge up
ça
to
peut être sympa.
contest mode levels, right? So we're like, okay, we got this great, you know, set of dungeons. Let's really put the screws to our players and see what they can do.
Ils vont nous mettre des modes contest là sur.
At the same time, we were like, well, you know, a lot of these dungeons.
Bah du coup prophétie, flèche de la vigie et fantôme des profondeurs.
Can be pretty intimidating. They are, you know, mechanically a little more.
Oh, le fantôme des profondeurs, j'ai pas envie.
Hand holding in the activity, and you know they often require, or at least you know, incentivize you to play with other players, right? So we were thinking, like, what if we could take this event as an opportunity to introduce these classic dungeons to, you know, a whole new audience by way of what we're calling Explorer mode. And so basically we've got new stuff at the top end in Ultimatum mode. We've got new stuff for players, or new opportunities for players to learn the dungeons in Explorer mode. And then we have Eternity mode, which is sort of aimed at our middle-of-the-road experienced dungeoneers. So we've kind of got something for everybody.
Excellent, awesome. Well, we've
Un peu
got
pour tout
stuff
le
to
monde.
actually show live right here.
Ouais, montre un peu là, montre.
Tell us just a little bit about where we're at right now.
Sure. So this is the social space for the event. Eagle-eyed veterans might know this, but this is the third Spire social space. Was originally used for the Trials of the Nine PvP, but it's been a while. It's been since year 1 since you could go to
ça
this
date de
space.
fou.
So,
Et regardez derrière, il y a la flèche de la vigie.
Rite of the Nine event.
Il y a la tour.
You can see off in the distance there as our brave reckless guardian runs off into the horizon. You can see, there we go.
It's a death button intrepid one at that. So
you can see the Spire of the Watcher tower off in the distance.
Incroyable.
That's indicating that during the week that we have this set for, Spire is the featured dungeon. So there's going to be one of these 3 dungeons featured during each week of the event on a sort of rolling basis.
Okay.
Okay.
We're obviously this is a familiar face as well.
Oh, le retour de la sœur, ça fait un bail.
Gemini, we appreciate the introduction.
So the Emissary is our vendor, and the Emissary offers you quests, bounties, rewards, a wide variety of things to do during the event. Like I say, it's all dungeon focused, but we're going to be leading you into those dungeons and giving you rewards for beating them on the various difficulty levels.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention.
Et derrière, regardez les gars, il y a des armes là.
In the background.
Yes.
What are we looking at here?
So for this event, we have taken 4 of the weapons from each of the featured dungeons and given them a big revamp. We've redone their perk pools, introduced perks
changement au niveau des perks.
come in over the season since the dungeon was released, and put those into these weapons and really given them a good juicing up as far as like the perks that are available. And what you're sort of seeing here is the ability to attune to these various weapons, just like you could during Into the Light with the light weapons. So that if there's a particular one of these that you really are hunting
On peut les harmoniser quoi.
attune to it, get more drops of that weapon during the course of the event.
Very exciting. Okay.
Okay.
We see some fans, obviously, in the house here. So we've got, as you were mentioning, ultimatum mode. We can go ahead and talk a little bit about later. But as we noticed, watchers here, Nix, can you tell us a little bit
les armes des donjons là, justement. C'est les armes de prophétie, flèche de la vigie et fantôme des profondeurs. Mais du coup, il y a ces armes-là qui vont être revisitées au niveau des perks. Et on va pouvoir les harmoniser justement là. Comme l'année dernière, les gars, avec l'agression, là, on peut harmoniser les armes.
Dungeon. So it was really great to see them go through our dungeons and having us tune it so that by the end of our playtest series, I think they just grew into folks who were really quite adept at dungeons, and I want to say can go on to even solo them if they wanted to.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great starting point. I think we were talking a little bit before the show, but explore mode obviously grants the opportunity, one, to just learn, to just go ahead and kick the proverbial tires in the dungeon, figure out how.
Il y aura plusieurs difficultés du coup pour ces donjons là.
For folks like myself who do really enjoy running dungeons, and I've only soloed one dungeon, but if I wanted to go ahead and really get all of my strats ready for a solo, maybe a solo flawless run if I'm lucky enough, this seems like a great way to approach that.
Ouais, bah ils vont aller rework Onyx. C'était l'année dernière. Hein. Ça fait déjà plus d'un an, ça. Le Roquette des profondeurs va être pas mal. Il est déjà très bon, le Roquette des profondeurs. Mais là, ils mettent Arsenal en vieux dessus. C'est sûr qu'il aura Arsenal en vieux.
as we go ahead and prepare to land. A brief touch on ultimatum mode as well. What are some of the key differences between those two experiences?
Sure. So while Explorer mode, of course, maybe not as familiar with the dungeons or never really given them a shot, Ultimatum mode is for players who are familiar with the dungeons and are used to a high level of play. So they're going to be our most challenging.
Okay, le mode ultimate.
Sort of a power level equivalent of contest mode.
Cool.
So you're
à peu près le même niveau qu'en mode contest, quoi.
We're also using some activity modifiers to sort of craft the experience and make it a little more challenging, but also just give you a little bit, require you to make a few decisions before you go into the dungeon or before you go into an encounter that you wouldn't otherwise necessarily be thinking about. So for example, we're using the not swap activity modifier, which basically means you need to keep one exotic equipped for the duration of an encounter. That's just sort of a way of saying, like, okay, we need you to really focus on thinking about this encounter and figuring out how you're going to tackle the challenges associated with it. And then both Eternity mode and Ultimatum mode are scored on a per encounter basis. So the higher your score in that encounter, the better the loot drop is going to be. You'll get double perks in different columns and things like that.
Okay.
That's all based on deaths. So instead of being based on kills or number of damage phases or things like that, it's basically getting through the encounter with fewer deaths gets you a higher score.
Yeah, be as alive as possible.
Exactly, right. So what we're really challenging you to do here is we're challenging you to go into this harder mode and not just, execute, but also execute in a way that gets you a higher score.
Ah ouais, ça va tryhard les runs flawless là.
In the Ultimatum mode, you'll be getting adept versions of the weapons.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
So when you say adept,
yes.
I mean, are they just adept, or do they have any special treatment, you might say?
Well, they are in fact adept in name and in functionality, but also they have the new treatment. So all of our weapons have a new visual treatment to them that has 9.
Ok, donc déjà de 1 on peut les avoir en version experte ces armes-là.
So this is a great example.
Attends, mais ça c'est nouveau ça.
A sort of baseline drop of new Pacific Epitaph that has the new visual treatment. You can see the 9 iconography on it, and you can also see like it's got the color palette at base.
Wireframe.
So all of our weapons during this event will have a new visual treatment.
Et du coup, un nouveau trait d'origine également. Trait d'origine des neufs là. Reloading this weapon automatically guide.
That drop during the event and is only available in Rite of the Nine. So it'll be.
En fait, ça ramasse les munitions autour de vous. C'est ça? Genre quand tu recharges, ça ramasse des mines à côté de toi automatiquement. C'est ça?
You're earning these adepts. They're going to have the animated holofoil giving that galaxy background, kind of showing I ascended the mountaintop. I actually went and earned this really dope loot, and I did it in a way where
Attends, mais c'est quoi cette version? Il y a une version avec un ornement? C'est la version shiny? Oh, j'ai l'impression qu'ils ont fait comme au-delà de la lumière les gars l'année dernière où vous avez des versions classiques et des versions shiny avec l'ornement là. Oh, yeah.
Sure. So one of the things you'll note is that we're using the in-world tooltips to teach you some of the mechanics. So this is something we've seen used in.
Mais du coup, il y a aussi une nouvelle PM des neufs là. Ça, c'est une nouvelle PM.
So, as you are playing through Ultimatum mode, you'll see these tooltips come up, and we have them all over the place. Anytime a new mechanic gets introduced, and it basically is a way to.
Ah, ça va être sympa, ça. En vrai, j'ai hâte. Mais du coup, c'est pas pour tout de suite. Ça sera à l'acte 3.
We're also using waypoints. Here's a great example of one of our teaching waypoints that sort of shows you, hey, here's where the path is supposed to go, and kind of direct you in a lot of the places where there are. Not as obvious paths through the dungeon, right? Yeah. But yeah, like those tooltips and waypoints, we're using those in the encounters to teach you the mechanics. And we do that like the first time you see it, so that later in the dungeon, when you are encountering that mechanic again, you'll have already learned it, and you can take your time and read the tooltips, execute the mechanic at your own pace.
En vrai, je prends. C'est moi de toute façon, au-delà de la lumière, les gars. Moi j'avais kiffé. Et en plus c'est gratuit. Je le précise quand même, mais c'est gratuit. Mais une nouvelle batteuse aussi là, attendez, mais une nouvelle batteuse des neufs là. Ouais, elle est très carrée. Hein. Ouais, le Panthéon c'était incroyable. Mais là, je crois on n'aura pas de Panthéon. Hein. Je sais pas. Pourtant, il nous avait parlé d'un éventuel Panthéon. Justement avec des étapes de donjon, machin. Bon. Après, à tout moment, on aura un Panthéon également.
So your ad clear aficionados, they are now learning or being given the opportunity to learn, oh, this is actually how this pathing works. This is how this mechanic works. So when you bring them in, or when I bring you in...
so why did you stare right at me when you were talking about ad clear aficionados, man?
No reason.
But yeah, it's like when you bring them into the higher difficulties of the mode, then it's like, oh, hey, you remember where those waypoints were? You were able to memorize it. You have this like memory. Now you can come in and execute at a higher level. It's aspirational content.
Yeah. So. Here's actually a good example
c'est nouveau ça. Ça, il n'y avait pas ça avant. Ces trucs-là, là. Ces plateformes-là. Ouais. Ah, les étapes des sauts, ça, ouais, j'avoue qu'il y a des gens, elles ont du mal. Moi, je vais pas vous mentir, moi j'ai tapé mon meilleur tout droit dès l'arrivée de la zone, je tape un coup d'épée, grappin, hop, direct dans le TP là. Direct dans l'ascenseur, mais bon. Et comment va Mobius? Merci beaucoup pour le tier 3, incroyable. Merci beaucoup. T'arrives en retard Mobius, là le stream il est bientôt fini.
Oh, yeah. Well, you get.
Bon, on l'avait perdu la sœur. 5 nouveaux emblèmes. Ah, ça nous intéresse.
Weapon cosmetic and a hoity-toity title, event exclusive title.
Okay, un titre.
From doing some challenging. Challenges in Ultimatum.
Yeah, it's going to require a
on
lot
l'avait
of
perdu la sœur, les gars, elle était à fond sur le gameplay, je crois.
These are not ones you're going to be able to earn right away. It's going to take some time.
Yeah, it's going to take some blood, some sweat, some tears. Yeah. Maybe an ambulance ride, everybody.
Your daily playthroughs, it's like here are my weapons, but then you have the overarching goal of like emblems.
C'est devenu ma gote, la sœur là.
Off in the tower, like I'm the dungeon delver. We don't have the name solidified just yet.
It's not locked in.
It'll come.
All right, cool. Well, I'll tell you what. Speaking of things we do have locked in. So we've taken a little bit of a look at what's here at Act 3. Dylan, I'm going to go ahead and take this chance to put you on the spot. Starting very soon, or if not recently, Moments of Triumph are back as well.
Ouais, les moments de triomphe qui ont commencé aujourd'hui, les gars.
Just put that down. So
that was very authoritative.
Yeah, we just walked through like here's what's coming in Act 2, here's what's coming in Act 3, and then here's what's coming with Ride of the Nine later in Act 3. Right now, if you're so inclined, Moments of Triumph just started like what, an hour ago, 2 hours ago?
Yeah.
We have some cool rewards that you can earn as you're prepping up for the next acts, as you're getting ready for what's to come. Cool cosmetic ghost. There's going to be a sparrow that's going to be really fun to earn.
Nice. Actually, I think we can take a look at those really quickly as well.
Ah, de toute façon, l'acte de triomphe, c'est simple. Si vous avez déjà tout fait durant l'année passée, bah, vous avez juste à vous connecter et vous récupérez tout direct. Incroyable, merci beaucoup, Mobus.
Yeah.
And then you can earn some free cosmetics in the game.
Les 5 subs, incroyable.
We also have our yearly Bungie Rewards t-shirt.
Yeah.
So I think I own 6 of these at this point, maybe 7, but this is the 2024, and yes, I'm going to call this out for my friend Matt. 2024, because it's the previous year, not 2025. T-shirt, which is really fun. We have a sample here in the studio. Thank you again, Natalie. Very excited. This, I believe, is the largest.
Promis, DMG, il les a tous les t-shirts, ça me termine.
So basically my size. I'm 6'1".
Yep.
But yeah, you can get your customization on the sleeve of your.
Ah ouais, mais là vous avez plus le temps, les gars, sur le chat. Incroyable. Merci aussi, Bridgie, pour les 5 subs. Ça, c'est Destiny, c'est la hype. En vrai, j'ai trop hâte d'être à l'acte 3 du coup, là. Et encore merci, Bridgie.
And then when you purchase any Moments of Triumph related, the t-shirt, the pins, anything like that, there's also a special emblem. It's a gift with the purchase. So in-game, you get a little bit of swag too.
Oh! I always love those shirts because it like.
Bon, l'emblème, les gars, il faut quand même, il faut commander un t-shirt. Il faut commander. Ah, mais l'emblème est stylé. Ah, deux doigts de commander le t-shirt des moments de triomphe.
But then when you're going through Right, it's like I have my title. In real life, it's like I got my title. I got it on my war vest. I got my T-shirt, etc.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, everyone, we have a very big show today, and so that I think about leads us to the conclusion. Is what I would say.
Vas-y, vous avez plus le temps, les gars, sur le chat. C'est incroyable. Merci beaucoup, Flo, aussi pour les 5 subs.
Obviously, we've touched a little bit on some of the stuff that's going to be arriving with
Merci
Act
beaucoup.
3, and we actually have a sneak preview also of a currently in development limited time PvP mode that will be joining Act 3 as well. I vote we go ahead and just throw it up here on screen. Let's take a look, everyone.
Un nouveau mode PvP, les gars, incroyable. Avec. Oh les gars, on est dans. Merde, comment World of Tanks. On est dans World of Tanks. C'est un mode PvP. C'est un mode PvP avec des avec les. Mais non, c'est pas possible. Ah les gars, on s'en fout des courses de passereau. Regardez, on peut contrôler un putain de. Incroyable. Bon les gars, ça arrivera pour l'acte 3. Incroyable.
We're very much looking forward to unleashing upon the community.
Ouais, mais ce sera un mode temporaire. Fait ici, ah non, il faut laisser ça tout le temps. C'est hyper drôle. Go mettre ça, nous-y. Mais c'est trop bien.
We say competitive, but this is a goofy, like, this is fun. You're sitting down on a Saturday night, you're chilling with your buds, and it's like, let's do some 360
incroyable.
while we like boost off of a ramp.
Yeah, we just finished a raid.
C'est du 3v3 du coup.
I want to go for a movie of the week. Why don't I?
3v3, 3v3.
Try to get a triple kill. Like,
chance.
Yeah.
There weren't enough sick flips in that raid.
Yeah.
Get out there on my Drake tank.
Just how many 360 no
Oh,
scopes
le truc
can we get into
improbable.
this thing? We'll find out. Does the Drake tank have a scope? I don't think so. But yeah, that's something we
stylé.
take a chance. Sorry, off screen they just did a huge jump as well. But we'd be remiss if we didn't take a chance.
Vas-y, Destiny, c'est incroyable.
So that for real this time concludes our show. So huge thank, of course, to Nico, Quentin, Morgan, to Nix and Rodney,
incroyable.
and of course
Incroyable.
Dylan Gaffner there for joining us today.
Meilleur ajout de
We really
2025.
appreciate you guys taking the time to tell us a little bit more. Sorry?
Thank you for hosting.
I'm also here. But of course, more importantly than even me is our fire team in the back of house. We've got Peyton, Ashley,
Ah, mais
and of
cet
course,
épisode-là,
our
c'est
Patreon social media,
incroyable.
Mitch out there helping us go ahead and do the heavy lifting behind the scenes. Thank you a ton for joining us as always. Take care of yourselves.
Take care
of each other,
too.
And we'll see you all Starside.
Incroyable. Bon bah, moi je suis hypé les gars. Bon bah... Après le truc là qui arrivera à l'acte 3 là, avec les neufs, ça sera pas directement dispo les gars. Ça sortira peut-être milieu d'acte 3. Ou peut-être même vers la fin de l'acte 3. Mais ouais, vraiment ça a l'air sympa tout ça. Ça a l'air vraiment sympa.